At exactly 6:42 p.m., the procession crossed the cemetery road. A horse-drawn hearse, black suits, veiled women, a polished casket. Not a sound. 12 witnesses, 3 videos. No funeral on the schedule. No tracks on the road. They just appeared, walked the path, and vanished. This is the story of the ghost funeral procession of Montana, October 28th, 2011, Friday. The sun was sinking fast behind the Bitterroot Mountains. I was locking the southern gate when I noticed something unusual. A group of people had gathered just beyond the fence, staring down Cemetery Road. At first, I thought a funeral had run late, but our last burial that day had ended by 3 p.m. No other services scheduled. Then I saw it, a horse-drawn hearse, jet black, glass-paneled, with silver rails, 2 matching horses, a casket inside, flanked by a dozen mourners in Victorian dress. They didn't speak, didn't look up, didn't make a sound. They crossed the road in perfect formation, then vanished into the trees. 12 people saw it that night. Visitors, locals, even a sheriff's deputy on patrol. Each gave a statement. Descriptions matched. Black wool suits, mourning veils, a boy with a lantern. The hearse wheels didn't creak. The horses didn't breathe. One woman said, "It looked like a funeral, but it felt like watching a painting move." 3 of them filmed it, but the footage showed something strange. The images were clear, but the sound was gone completely. Not just from the video. The moment it passed, every bird, every breeze, stopped. By dawn, we went out to inspect the road. No hoofprints, no wagon tracks, no shoe scuffs. The gravel was untouched. We checked neighboring churches, funeral homes, and event companies. No processions scheduled. No period reenactments. No rentals. No one reported a missing hearse, and no one ever came forward. We combed through records dating back 100 years. Nothing on the books. But there were rumors. In 1891, a landslide blocked the northern road to this cemetery. A funeral was scheduled that week for the Van Orden family, a matriarch, and 2 sons lost in a house fire. They were to be buried side by side, but the hearse never made it. Detoured, lost control on icy roads. Everyone aboard, driver, mourners, casket bearers, killed. The bodies were recovered, but the funeral never held. Locals believed the procession was cursed. A tragedy paused in motion. Maybe it's still finishing its route. 140 years later, it happened again. Same date, October 28th. Same time, 6:42 p.m. One couple, walking their dog, saw the exact same formation. Same hearse, same black horses, same lantern boy. The woman filmed it on her phone, but when she looked later, the screen showed only trees. Nothing had recorded, and her dog wouldn't stop trembling until dawn. We started calling it the Silent March. It now happens every 2 years. Same day, same time, always near dusk, always perfectly silent. In 2017, a woman named June visited the cemetery the week of the 20th. She asked to see plot 84. That's where the Van Orden family rests. She wasn't family, no relation, but she carried a single black rose and said, "I think they're trying to finish what they started." She stood by the grave for 2 hours, left a note I wasn't supposed to see. I found it after she left. It read, "The lantern always leads the way." I remember now. Signed with just B. I never saw her again. 2021. A storm rolled in the night of October 20. Despite thunder, the procession still appeared. Witnesses stood under umbrellas, watching horses cross the cemetery road, but their coats stayed dry. Not a single raindrop touched them. The casket gleamed beneath the lightning, Some say they saw faces inside the glass, not reflections, faces. One man fainted. Another claimed the boy, holding the lantern, made eye contact. His eyes weren't human, he said. They were glowing. I've come to believe that funerals aren't just ceremonies. They're transitions, gateways. If they're interrupted, something lingers, unfinished, repeating. The ghost funeral procession doesn't seek attention. It doesn't speak. It doesn't threaten. It simply mourns over and over until someone finally lays it to rest. This October 28th, I'll be watching again, just past the gravel path, lantern ready. And if the procession crosses one more time, maybe this time, I'll follow it. Maybe someone has to. Big love to everyone who's already hit that red button. You're keeping the campfire burning. But to the silent majority who watch but haven't subscribed yet, you're here. You're listening. You feel these stories. So why not make it official? Subscribing helps keep these real haunting stories coming, and it tells YouTube that content like this matters. And the next story, oh, it's waiting for you. Thanks again. Buckle up. Let's cruise into the next one. There's a headstone in Mississippi that doesn't speak. It whispers, but only after dark. Touch the stone, and some say it whispers your name. Others say it whispers the name of someone you haven't lost yet. No animals nearby, just a soft hiss, like someone breathing secrets through stone. This is the story of the Whisper Stone. It started with a child, July 1987. A boy visiting his great-grandmother's grave ran to his mother, crying. He told her, "The stone said my name." At first, they thought he was being dramatic, but he was shaking, said he felt a breath, cold and dry, against his palm. They were visiting Elm Grove Cemetery, just outside Jackson, Plot 6A, the oldest section. Cracked stone, faded etchings, and one grave stood out. Cornelia Voss, born 1842, died 1911. Her marker was a narrow marble obelisk, thin, elegant, unassuming, but that was the stone he touched, and he wasn't the last. In the years that followed, stories began to spread. Caretakers, visitors, teenagers on dares, always the same details. Touch the stone after dusk. Feel a chill in your palm. Hear something, never loud, never clear. Just a whisper. No wind, no bugs, no birds. Some claimed to hear their own name. Others said it whispered someone else's. Always someone they knew. One man claimed it whispered the name of his brother. His brother died in a car accident. 3 days later, in 2004, I invited an audio engineer to join me on site. We brought directional mics, parabolic dishes, and 2 handheld recorders. At 9:14 p.m., I touched the whisper stone. Nothing, no sound. Then 18 seconds in, on both recordings, there was a faint hiss, like someone slowly exhaling. We isolated it, amplified, cleaned the background noise. Still no words, no phonetics, just a static breath. We tested soil acoustics, stone vibration, ambient interference. Every test came back negative. The hiss was not explainable. Cornelia Voss, born during the Civil War, daughter of a plantation nurse. She never married, no children, lived alone until her death in 1911. Town records note her as a woman of the night air, likely meaning she walked often. Neighbors described her as odd, always muttering under her breath. Some called her a healer, others a witch. A few days before she died, she allegedly told a neighbor, "I won't be silent when I go. I'll still have words to say." They found her in her bed, eyes open, hand clutching a small silver comb. That comb is still buried with her. One of our volunteers, Maynard, visited the grave after hours. He touched the stone out of curiosity. What he heard wasn't his name, it was his mother's, whispered 3 times, softly, barely audible. He called her the next morning. She didn't pick up. She'd passed in her sleep the night before. No signs of illness, no warning. Since then we've counted 4 other cases like his. Touch the stone, hear a name, lose that person within days. Coincidence? Maybe, but not if you're the one who hears it. We've had skeptics test everything. Thermal shifts, pressure changes, vibrational feedback, all normal. But folklore experts pointed something out. In southern grave traditions, whispering graves were believed to mark unrest, souls not properly sent off, especially those buried with unfinished words. The superstition says, if the grave speaks, you owe it a listener. No one knows what Cornelia never got to say. In 2019, a local committee proposed moving Cornelia's grave for cemetery reorganization. They submitted paperwork, filed permits, but within a week, 4 board members reported strange sounds in their homes. One described a woman's voice humming through the floor vents. Another swore she heard her own name whispered while brushing her teeth. All 4 rescinded their votes. The proposal was dropped. Cornelia stayed, and the whispers stopped. For them, I've touched that stone, not once, not twice, 5 times over the years. Each time, I hear the hiss. Once, I thought I heard my father's name. He passed months later. I don't know what the whisper stone is. Residual energy, a psychic echo, or just Cornelia, still walking the night air, speaking names the world forgot to hear. But if you visit, if you dare to touch it, listen carefully, because once you've heard it, you carry the whisper with you. We talk about graves as endings, but not all graves are quiet. Some still speak, some still want to be heard, and some whisper your name. Cemeteries don't grow, they fill slowly, row by row, name by name. But last October, ours grew 6 new graves overnight. Satellite imaging caught them. 6 fresh mounds, identical, aligned. But our records? No burials, no services, no footprints. And after 3 days, they vanished. No soil disturbed, no markers, just empty grass. This is the story of the cemetery that grew overnight. It started with a phone call from the county GIS office. They were updating satellite overlays and noticed something odd. Our cemetery, Reed's Hollow, showed 6 fresh grave mounds in the east quadrant. They sent the image to me. The timestamp was 3:26 a.m., October 12th. The mounds were distinct, rounded, elevated, perfectly spaced, but there had been no burials in that section for over 40 years. And that week, no services at all. I went out there the next morning. There were no mounds, just clean, level ground, no disturbed grass, no markers, no tracks, but I felt something, stillness, not peace, something closer to waiting. We have 2 motion-activated trail cams mounted at opposite ends of the cemetery. Neither picked up a thing. From October 11th, at dusk to sunrise the next morning, nothing moved. But when we reviewed the footage closely, we noticed one detail. The camera on the west side glitched, a sharp flash of white light. One frame, not lightning, no weather events. And then the ground, at the far edge of the frame, seemed raised, like 6 humps. But in real time, we never saw it. Plot E, the section where the mounds appeared, was officially retired in 1982. Soil instability. Roots from nearby trees had made excavation unreliable, but before that, Plot E had a history. 6 graves were planned in that exact spot for the Langford family in 1914. They never used them. The family left town after a fire killed their youngest daughter. No one ever claimed the space. The plots remained unsold for over a century, until those 6 mounds. The mounds stayed on satellite for 3 days. Every scan, every angle. Then on the 4th day, they were gone. No visual evidence left behind. But when I visited again, something had changed. The ground felt firmer, the air colder, despite the sun, and in the grass, 6 faint indentations, as if something had once risen and settled. We took soil samples. The lab said they'd been compressed recently, exactly 3 feet wide, 6 feet long. Each one of our groundskeepers, Jonas, brought a ground mic to test for animal activity. When he placed the mic near the indentations, he froze. He called me over. He played the recording back. At first it was just low static, wind maybe, then a faint knocking, measured, spaced, 6 knocks, each followed by a pause, then silence. Jonas won't work that section anymore. On October 13th, the second night after the satellite ping, I stayed late just to see. At 11:43 p.m., I saw something near Plot E. 6 upright shapes, barely visible against the trees, not moving, not solid, just there. I blinked and they were gone. I walked out the next morning. At each spot where they stood, grass pressed flat, like kneeling or watching. We've heard every theory: gas pockets, subsurface animal burrows, bad satellite data, high electromagnetic activity, paranormal emergence. None of them account for the scale, the precision, the return to normal. One local folklorist suggested the Langford family reserved those 6 spots, and someone or something is trying to keep that promise. Another theory: they weren't burials, they were warnings. 2 months ago, I checked satellite scans again. Same quadrant, same coordinates, no mounds. But this time, the shade of the grass was different. A darker green, denser. And if you zoom in, there's a faint outline. 6 of them, not raised, not sunken, waiting. Graves are made, measured, dug, marked. But sometimes, they just appear. And when they vanish, it's not always because someone left. Sometimes, they're still there. You just don't see them anymore. To our incredible subscribers, thank you so much. You are the reason this channel exists. But right now, only 30% of our viewers are subscribed. If you've been quietly watching from the shadows, we see you, and we appreciate you, but we need you too. Subscribing is free, and for a creator like us, it means we can keep telling the stories no one else will. You matter more than you know. Help us grow. Help us stay. You're part of this now.